Hi, in this video I'd like to talk about 4 items that you need to keep in mind when designing a training program. Let me start off with the first one. The first one is frequency. Frequency is how often are you performing this movement? How often are you squatting? Are you squatting once a week? 5 times a week? 7 times a week? 30 days a month? Twice a month? Frequency. That is an important thing to consider. How often will you be doing this? Volume. Volume is, think of it as more of sets. How many sets are you going to be doing? I know back in the olden days of Arnold Schwarzenegger type bodybuilding, you would do 20 sets per body part, which is a lot of volume. Workload. Workload is how much work is being done. Not workload, don't think of workload as necessarily one set of 10. Think of workload as multiple sets, and think of it as over a period of time. Let's say twice a week, multiple times a week, or over a period of months. Intensity. Intensity, think of that as how hard is it going to be. And to make intensity easier to understand, let's just put it on a scale from 1 to 10, and we'll say 10 is max. And by I mean max, I'm not talking about how many reps you're doing, like 1 rep max. I'm talking about what is the maximum, how hard is the last rep, 10 being maximum. So let me show you how to put these together. Frequency. If it's really difficult, the frequency, when you're doing frequency, you're going to be looking at intensity. If it's a level 10 in intensity, chances are you're not going to be able to do it that often. Now, how often is really determined on how long you've been training, how many years under your belt you have of training. If you're an older athlete, let's say someone that's in their 40s or older, you're probably going to have an intensity of 10 be less often. I would say something like maybe 1 to 2 times a month. And let's say that's like a bench press, squat, or deadlift. Or it could be 1 time a month on a deadlift, because the deadlift, it's a strange animal. It can take a lot out of you when you get older. Okay, so these two go together. Now what you're going to be looking at next is you're going to be looking at the volume. Now where volume comes into play is if the weight is really heavy, you're going to have to look at intensity. If the weight's heavy, the intensity is going to probably be high for you. And the volume is also, the frequency is also going to be involved. But the frequency is probably going to be, again, depending on your age and your training experience. It could be high, it could be low. The next thing to look at is workload. Now workload is, think of workload as this. Workload is how often do you perform this exercise over a period of, let's say, days, weeks, and months. I use workload in particular. A good example I can give you or how I use it is my workload for, let's say, reverse hyper. Let's say I want to use 200 pounds, which isn't very heavy for me, but I want to do 10 sets of 10, and I want to do it, let's say, just 1 time a week. That's 20,000 pounds just for doing it 1 time a week. Just think, if I do it 2 times a week, I've doubled that. If I do it 8 times a month, well, I just 8 times this right here, 8 times 20,000 pounds. That's quite a bit. Considering I'm only doing speed squats twice a month, and I'm showing you that I'm using 6 sets of 3, which is 18 reps, times 400 pounds is 7,200. And I'm doing this twice a month. So that total, let me write that down for you. That right there is a total volume of 14,000 pounds. But you look right here, my workload. Just in 1 session on doing my training reverse hyper for my core, I'm getting 20,000 pounds of work, 20,000 pounds of workload in there. This is where I'm going to gain my strength, actually, because what I'm doing for this is I'm using workload to train a muscle, to condition a muscle, as opposed to using intensity is low because I'm doing a lot, the volume is high because I'm doing multiple sets, the frequency is also high. So that can be done that way. This does not take long to recover from because this is a core exercise. While if this, something like this, a squat or a deadlift, involves training multiple muscle groups. Pretty much when you do the deadlift and squat, you're pretty much training almost the same muscle groups with a little bit more emphasis on the lower back for one than the other. But you're using your largest muscle groups for this. While this, you're still using your lower back, but you're also using hamstrings and glutes, which are a little bit smaller and they can recover a little bit faster. For me, that is. I don't want to say for everyone. So when you're training, you're setting up your training routine, please be aware. You need to pay attention to these 4 items right here. You need to make sure that you have adequate frequency. And frequency, like I said, that's going to be up to you. What can you recover from? How often can you train? I can't see saying someone, hey, you need to squat 5 times a week, and that person's a full-time college student, working full-time, has a family. That might not be possible. So 1 time a week might be the ideal solution for that. Volume. How much time do you have to train? How heavy do you want to train? Volume. I use volume a lot. If I don't really want to train heavy, and let's say I want to use a lighter weight or I'm injured, I'll just use volume. I'll just wear the muscle out with a lighter weight over multiple sets. Workload. Workload is something you can also use for injuries, or you can use for just general training for smaller muscle groups. You will do multiple sets over should I say over weeks, over months, and so forth, multiple times a week. And this will create a high volume. This will create high volume, and this will create a high workload. Think of workload again as multiple sets, not just one all set with everything in it, not just a set of 10. Intensity. How hard? Now, intensity, everybody, let's be honest with you, everybody's going to try to shoot for a 10. But in reality, you're not always going to make a 10. I mean, 100% is not possible every day. So there are going to be times that your training program, you need to make something built in your training routine where you can actually change the intensity and also change all these at once. So let's say you're injured. Let's say you come in, you worked hard and everything. You come in from work or school. You're really tired, so you only want to do a level 5. That's only 50% effort. Well, your intensity is going to be low. You can increase your volume. You can do more sets. And by increasing your more sets, let's say you only want to do it twice a week, well, you just increased your workload. You can do that, but you're keeping the frequency low. Or you can have a training routine where you do 5, which is mid-level, do more frequency. And if you want, you can do more volume, which in turn will make your workload go up. Or you could just not do very much volume, just have more frequency. Let's say you can do, instead of doing 10 sets, and I'm just saying 10, you can do whatever you want. High volume from you could be 5 sets an exercise, or it could be 2. It just depends on what you do. You can adjust all of these. So remember, when you design your program, design it based off of, number 1, these 4 factors, and there's a 5th element you need to design your program off of. And this is really not involved in training, but this is involved in life. And that item is this. How much time do you have? If you don't have a lot of time to train, this is not going to be a good option for you. This is the first thing you're going to have to change. You're going to have to lower. This is going to be the next thing. This one is always can stay as high as you want if you have low time. This is a great one. Always great. It's number 1. If you have a lot of time, you can do all of these. So anyway, this is just something I came up with today. I was thinking about that I thought might help you, and you might want to consider when you're designing a training program.